Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? This is 0x Saigon for another THORChain weekly live stream. We're joined this week by our friends at Nine Realms, Pluto, possibly Gavin, and one Chad THOReau. How's it going, y'all?
Hey, Saigon.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for hosting again.
Always a pleasure. We have, is that Gavin?
Yeah, it is. I think you've also got Pluto on here as well. And a few others might be joining from the Nine Realm side.
Awesome. Let me see. What I'll do is I'll make you the co-host. So if you get any faces or names that you recognize, you can invite them to speak. And while we wait for people to trickle in, Chad, let's you can shoot the shit here a little bit. Chad, how's your week been? What's new for you, sir?
Yeah, doing well on my end. Definitely a exciting, busy week. Feel like so much is going on in the THORChain ecosystem. And on a personal side, I feel like I've just gotten more involved. So it's been cool to just be busy with all of that and kind of seeing it all unfold.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. And yeah, same here. It's cool to see, despite the broader market right now, a lot of the progress and the developments in the THORChain ecosystem, at the protocol level, everything that the core team and Nine Realms are doing, and then also the ecosystem level, just the progress of all the interfaces and everything. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time for the THORChain ecosystem here. Awesome. And Pluto, how's your week going, sir?
Yeah, pretty good. Busy week. Just wrapping up all the loose ends from the Doge implementation, and also Terra live now on StageNet. So super exciting. Got that out early this morning. Couple bugs to work through, but yeah, looking good on that side.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to hear more about that. Let's see. We got another friend from Nine Realms, Orion. How are we doing, sir?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, doing well here. Super excited to hop on and chat with the community.
Awesome. Appreciate you, sir. Let me make sure. Cal, can you give us a thumbs up if you got recording enabled? I'm trying to fire it up on my end, but for some reason.
I've got it going, actually.
Looks like it's recording.
I'm recording separate
awesome.
as well.
Yeah, the Twitter recordings don't actually let you pull a download, unfortunately. So it's just for replay on Twitter. So they kind of want to own the audio, but we like to republish these later. Yeah.
There actually is a way I can walk you through it if you want, but it's not very straightforward.
Oh, really? Okay, good to know. Is it the nuclear option where you're doing an entire data export from THORChain?
Yeah. You have to export everything. It takes 24 hours, and then you get a zip file with all this data, and you can find it in there. And then it's in a weird file format also, so you have to convert it and all this stuff. But it's a good backup, just if anything ever fails.
I unfortunately know about that one, and it's just bothering the THORChain, the person who started this account with that email address.
Yeah.
That can't be bothered to send that file. So we do a client side recording. Thank you, Chad, for being on that.
Yeah, no problem.
But awesome. No, so we have a ton of great updates here. And just, I guess we can kick it off, and we'll start with a quick explanation. So this is the THORChain weekly live stream. We do these every Friday, and it's just a great time to get updates from the protocol level, including updates from the core team, often Chad Bareford, and then our friends at Nine Realms, of course. And this week we're hosted here by myself, 0x Saigon, Chad THOReau, Familiar Cow has been helping a lot. And then we're joined by, of course, as always, our friends at Nine Realms. So let's give a quick round of introductions. I guess, Chad, you want to go first, and we'll hit the Nine Realms crew.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not on the core team or Nine Realms, but I am a avid community member of THORChain, just a big fan for the past year or so, and diving deeper and deeper. So doing my best to stay on top of what's going on and to translate as much of that as possible to the community just through Twitter and Spaces, and also recently just started helping out with some content on THORswap as well. So kind of just broadly trying to be a sort of translator, if you will, and spread the word of THORChain.
Spread the gospel, fight the good fight, sir. Yeah. And
exactly.
Yeah. And you and Familiar Cow were hosting like just community hangouts on Twitter Spaces. And so when I was organizing these live streams, I was like, it'd be great to get you guys on board and so it's been great to have you guys co-hosting these. So welcome and thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to do it.
And now for the Nine Realms crew. Gavin, who are you, sir?
An instigator, chief instigator. No. Everybody, hopefully folks on the call know Nine Realms. We've been an ecosystem participant and one of the core contributors kind of over the last year here. And we've added a lot to both the core protocol, security posture, liquidity, and kind of everything doing with this network. Started this with Orion and Pluto last year, and we've been jamming in the THORChain ecosystem ever since. But we're just getting into some good stuff. With that, I'll pass it over to Orion or Pluto.
Cool. All right.
Who's going to go first? Hey everyone. Yeah, my name's Orion. I play kind of a glue role, helping to support the ecosystem however I can. That's a bit of dev work, a bit of community outreach, and just connecting folks so that everybody has the resources that they need. Super stoked to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pluto.
Yeah, I'm Pluto. I've been working a lot in the infrastructure and security and core protocol development, both for THORChain itself. So on the Thor node side, the node operations side, just node launcher and that kind of thing, and also more recently been maintaining and developing StageNet and added both the Doge and THORchain clients. Are you guys hearing me okay? By the way, I'm on a bit of a foreign internet connection down under.
Yeah, we got you.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, but everything
All right,
you
sweet.
say goes counterclockwise as opposed to what we're listening to, which goes clockwise. Some down under jokes, but anyway.
Great.
Awesome. We got some fun stuff to cover here. I think we have some a list to work off of here. Thank you, Chad and Orion, both for sharing these talking points. I think the biggest thing and most exciting for the past week was, of course, Doge, and the launch of Doge on mainnet. So this has like a meaningful impact on Doge's utility and what's possible with Doge. So Orion, you said like it changes the fundamentals of the asset, which I love. You want to talk a bit about that and like what do you mean by that?
Sure. So this is kind of a perspective that's been echoed by other folks in the community, but Doge has been kind of a stranded asset in terms of access to DeFi for forever. So by having a THORChain integration, Doge fans are able to earn Doge on their Doge. And that is kind of the central mission for THORChain is providing, you provide any asset and you can earn interest on that asset. So this changes the kind of ability for Doge as an asset to grow in terms of its utility, and super stoked to be able to provide that via THORChain. And excited for the Doge community to learn about DeFi, get their feet wet, and then explore the rest of kind of the rich landscape that DeFi has to offer.
Awesome. And can you talk a bit about about bringing it to mainnet? Like first StageNet, then mainnet. Like I don't know if Orion or if this would be a better question for Pluto or Gavin, but what went well? Is there anything that didn't go as planned? Were there any surprises? And how's the performance been so far? Give us a bit of like the back end view.
Yeah, I can jump in and answer that. So people have to keep in mind that with these sort of new chain integrations, first of all, this is the first time we brought a chain into the live network. Every chain up until this point was sort of included in the network in the genesis of multi-chain. So really, this was the first time that we tried to bring a new chain into a live network, and so there's a lot of steps there. If anyone was following the GitLab issue I wrote up, there's probably something like 14 or 15 different technical steps. And one of the biggest challenges is that, anywhere along the way, if you find a bug or if there's, any hiccups, this is not like a centralized infrastructure where, I can just go and, git push something and roll it out within 5 minutes. Like, we have to be very sure of the code that we're releasing, because, if even just a minor patch is required, it takes multiple eyes on that, from THORsec to the core team to 9realms. We need to, put it through rigorous testing processes. Then we need to cut a release, announce it, and then it has to be adopted by all of the node operators. So even just to change something super simple, like how gas is calculated, that's not a very straightforward process that can be just kind of, pushed out as soon as it's found. So one of the other challenges is there's no substitute for real volume, real users, real liquidity. So there's always going to kind of be rough patches at the beginning with these protocol level launches. So that was kind of something that we saw with Doge, rolling it out to StageNet. You can add liquidity, you can swap, it churns, it funds Yggdrasil vaults, all the check boxes, were hit. But then between the time that we basically came up with the gas, sort of the gas scheme, which, just for a little bit of background context, Dogecoin issued official guidance saying that, that miners should use fixed fees of 0.02 Doge. And that's all good and well when there's very little activity on Dogecoin, which has, been the case, from a technical standpoint. There's very little activity on Dogecoin. So the idea of using fixed fees works well, until Elon Musk decides to tweet, now we can buy Tesla merch using Dogecoin, and volumes 100x. And then so even though there was this official guidance from the Doge team that's saying you can use fixed fees, now all of a sudden that assumption goes out the window with these volumes. So we realized, okay, this thing is live right now, but already one assumption is being challenged. And so that kind of brings up a difficult decision as to whether we halt the launch and try to, walk that back and push out a patch and then relaunch, which has a bunch of other downstream implications in terms of our marketing efforts, our communication strategy. So really, we knew that that things weren't going to go smoothly, and of course they didn't. And we were able to course correct on that. And ultimately, we just decided to keep moving forward because we figured it would be less disruptive to just let some transactions hang out in the mempool for a bit longer if they, were using the fixed gas and there was a lot of transaction volume versus halting the entire integration and notifying our partners at THORswap and them notifying the different, notifying Cointelegraph that it wouldn't be going live, right? So it's there's a ton of difficulty, not only just on the technical side of launching a new chain into a live network without any sort of delays or issues, but then also trying to this is the first time that we tried to line up press and external communications and outreach to communities outside of THORChain. So it was a new approach in that regard. We tried to kind of time things. And the learning lesson there is that it's almost impossible to time all of these components together in a hot environment that's basically we don't have full control over because it's completely decentralized. So yeah, just ton of learning opportunities and a ton of learnings that we will apply to the Luna launch. So in a way, Doge was a perfect first candidate for this type of integration, because it's just a UTX, it's a fork of Bitcoin, so it's just another UTXO chain. So from a technical perspective, it's a bit easier than like a brand new paradigm like a Cosmos or Byzantine fault tolerant chain. But we also tried something radically new from a launch and rollout perspective, just on comms and marketing, and so that also had its fair share of hiccups, and it's just a new level of coordination that we're trying to bring to the ecosystem. And yeah, we have a lot to learn from and apply to the Luna launch. But overall, I'd say like 8 or 9 out of 10 on the launch, and everyone from the X-Chain team, THORswap, AsgardX, core team, Nine Realms, like everyone kind of worked in unison to work through all of these issues as they arise. And as a result, we had a successful launch of Doge, and so really proud of that.
And one thing to throw on the heels of what Pluto's saying is, if you think about the conversations that were happening at the end of last year in November and December about the groundwork and things like that, like everything that Pluto and Orion are sharing and talking through this is all starting to pay dividends, right? Because on the heels of this, we'll talk about Terra and things, but this is all starting to use the new rails and infrastructure for on-ramping new ecosystems. So it's like patience sometimes pays off, but groundwork always speaks for itself.
So Pluto, on that gas issue you mentioned, is that what caused the price and the pool depth to be a bit wonky at the beginning, or was that something separate that was going on?
No, that was actually something different. So yeah, that's another issue. Basically, I wanted to be clever and essentially use the halt trading flag, but have the pause LP Doge flag disabled to allow people to deposit and withdraw liquidity without actually opening up the pool for trading. And the reason for that is here's another thing with like the comms, right? We don't want to there shouldn't be like 2 general phases during a launch, like phase 1, which is let's say 3 phases. Like phase 1 is just getting the actual pool live from like a protocol level. And there's tons of steps of that. You have to like push Bifrost changes, enable configurations, push out chain daemon infrastructure to node operators, all of that before you even get the code running in THORnode. Then once the code is running in THORnode, you need to churn the network, and that creates the vault. And then from there, you can create the pool and seed the liquidity. So what we wanted to do is basically allow people to, within the THORChain community and from Nine Realms and from our different liquidity partners, to be able to actually seed liquidity before actually turning the pool on. And then from there, we don't want to start blasting out. Actually, sorry. Phase 1 is just like the prep, the core protocol, getting that up and running. Phase 2 is like seeding liquidity, and then phase 3 is actually like going and messaging to those external communities, so talking, reaching out to the Doge community, reaching out to the Terra community. I kind of wanted us to make sure, and I know that a lot of other teams as well that were focusing on the communications. We wanted to make sure that there was enough meaningful liquidity, $1 to $2 million at least in Doge depth before essentially that Cointelegraph article went live, because the last thing you want is for people to show up and try to make a swap and get a really bad slippage on it. It's just not a good look, right? It's like, well, why would I use this? So, we had that kind of opportunity to convert all these inbound, users into THORchads. So we really wanted to make sure we made the best of that. So yeah, basically it was trying to do something clever there, where we could keep the trading halted, but allow LP. But it turns out that if trading is halted, you also cannot LP. So there's a bit of confusion around the naming of those Mimir constants. And so what we actually did was unhalt trading, then try to seed the pool, and then rehalt trading so that people could continue to add liquidity. So that was all actually wrong. That wouldn't have actually allowed that in the first place. But where we really screwed up was that by halting trading again after putting in the initial slug of liquidity with the Treasury's slug of like $1 million worth of Doge. Basically, Bifrost entered confirmation counting mode, and so by the time it went to go add that the Doge side of the liquidity, the halt trading flag had been re-enabled, which then THORnode says nope, trading's halted, can't add this liquidity, let's refund it. And then so what happens is now that Doge is actually split between the two Asgard vaults, and so neither one of those vaults have enough Doge to actually refund the large slug. So that's kind of stuck. And so that was what necessitated the Treasury having to acquire more Doge and then basically deposit that so that it could get refunded the initial slug and then put that back into the pool. But because one side had been added but the other side had been refunded, we ended up in a state where essentially the pools were imbalanced, causing the Doge price to be a lot higher. And unfortunately, somebody took advantage of that arbitrage opportunity and was able to extract I think 36,000 US worth of rune, right? Because they were able to extract $36,000 worth of rune from the pool at the Treasury's expense. So that's just goes to show we need to have better run books, but honestly more simple processes. Like in the future, we're not going to be trying to do anything fancy, and there's just some things we need to fix to clarify the meanings and operations of those different halt flags. But this just goes to show we should just keep it as simple as possible when we launch these tokens, and basically not try to do anything fancy there.
Awesome. Yeah. Good to know. And so, that leads to a question that Chad had written on our outline here, but thoughts on the new chain playbook for upcoming integrations. And so, that's one of the key learnings from this, which is great. And that playbook is important because, by the end of the year, I mean, Chad had mentioned numbers in terms of how many chain integrations are possible by the end of 2022. And, it could look like as high as 20 possibly, but most imminent would be Luna, which is currently live in StageNet. And so, I think this is a huge, I think especially given how kindred of communities there are between THORChain and Terra, I think most people that are on this call can, know this about the THORChain and the Terra communities. This is one of the most hotly anticipated features of coming to THORChain. Would someone, I don't know who would be the right person to field this from your end, from the Nine Realms end, but talking about where Terra is on StageNet and what we have to look forward to here over the next weeks or possibly months. What sort of timeline do we have to look forward to?
Sure. Yeah, I can answer that one too. It's funny. I wasn't actually planning to talk about about Luna today, and it's funny because StageNet is an environment that we control and we have been using to test these new chain integrations, but people, it seems like people are kind of pretty much monitoring StageNet 24 hours a day at this point and tweeting things out. Just as soon as they start to see things. So indeed, today I did ship the Terra client into the Bifrost running on the active node StageNet. I churned the vaults and then created the L1 pool and added a bit of Luna into it, and immediately found 3 bugs. So I've just been working through those today. So Luna, I'm guessing at some point today I'll be able to do a swap on StageNet of real L1 Luna once those bugs get sorted out. That's literally just a proof of concept code, which is really just the bare minimum demonstrate that, like, think of it like a proof of concept. Like, we're able to demonstrate that we can, use like a Cosmos chain like Terra to be able to swap on Thor. So able to demonstrate that, sometime today, hopefully, would be a nice like achievement going into the weekend. But there's still like a ton of other things that need to happen before we can actually consider, Terra ready for even remotely ready for ChaosNet. So one of those being, thorough reviews by the core devs and THORsec. One of those being, there's literally no, you guys, anyone can look at the branch right now. It's Cosmos Terra client on THORnode. And there's absolutely no integration tests, no unit tests. So we obviously have to write, a full battery of test suites for the new Cosmos chains. The nice thing about that is that all of this logic, like I've been writing all of this logic to be super generic. So the tests, and all that should just be like a complete copy paste. We should just have like, and this is something like more widely, like we're trying to have like generic test suites, instead of just for like a specific chain, for a type of chain, right? So like BFT chains or Cosmos chains will have their own smoke tests that can run against any implementation of Cosmos. Like Bitcoin, like proof of work Bitcoin chains will have their own set of tests as well that can run against like any of those UTXO chains, like Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, etc. So yeah, like one of the things that we're going to be doing is like getting a lot more rigor around testing and like just the go live procedures for rolling out new chains. So that kind of all needs to happen before we launch this. But yeah, so just just from a development standpoint, I think the two biggest things are testing and security reviews. I don't really expect the testing stuff to take like more than a few days to whip up, but the security reviews is kind of like, I can't really give an estimate on that. But yeah, THORsec is an always on full-time team dedicated to THORnode security and vulnerability analysis. So I should expect them to be able to turn it around pretty quickly. But if I had to give a conservative estimate, I'd say we're still about a month out from Luna Terra going live on ChaosNet.
Amazing.
And then there's also the actual launch plan, which I'm sure others can speak to, but we're going to identify different launch partners, wallet integrations, UIs, and communications, marketing, and also the sort of that day one or launch liquidity will be lined up by Nine Realms and other teams as well. So yeah, there's just a ton of moving parts in bringing these chains online, and we really want to decouple that from like the actual protocol development. So while the protocol may be, considered, feature complete, and we might have a release candidate, it'll probably take us a few weeks to make sure that all the other parts are moving and working together, and that we have a detailed run book so that we can, avoid any of those, any hiccups that we might have seen on the Doge launch, for example.
Yeah, amazing. And just to kind of zoom out for a second and highlight the importance of this for the lunatics listening in is, this is the first decentralized stablecoin coming to THORChain, and this has like such broader implications than, it doesn't just mean, oh, like Luna's on another chain now. Like, no, this actually means that everything that's integrated with THORChain is now accessible to the Terra community, which has such crazy implications. I mean, that means the first time you'll be able to buy Bitcoin with UST, or you can enter into Luna through all these other various chains. So it's going to just allow so much crazy composability and crazy DeFi stuff in the future with THORFi. So this is, on a personal level, probably the integration I've been the most excited about for such a long time. And it's just going to have major implications on both ecosystems, and even just DeFi as a whole, because now that's a way to go from, if you have other stable coins, like now you can decentralized swap to UST. If you're all in on the Luna ecosystem and you have UST and you use that in your daily life, well, you could swap that to another stable to cash out if you're on Coinbase or something like that. Like, there's so many use cases that emerge from this. So it's just very exciting. And so it sounds like it sounds like we're really close to the stage where like the community could start banging on it. So if I'm hearing correctly, like what, maybe even, did you say later today or within a couple days, like people could actually be on StageNet kind of banging around?
Yeah, for sure. I think later today, hopefully, if I can get some of these issues sorted out. But yeah, like it's like that. Yes, we will be able to. Well, it's interesting too. Synths are already enabled on StageNet, so people could already start doing like synthetic trading. I don't know why you'd want to use synths with Terra, because it is instant finality, and the fees are really cheap. So I'm just kind of thinking like, what are the different like combinations of like THORFi features that like Terra that would be interesting for Terra, and like how people could start bidding on those in StageNet. But we are also going to start the Thor games for synths as well in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, over the next couple of weeks, like we will be inviting a large, like basically the entire community to not only start banging on, Terra and Luna UST on StageNet, but also synths, and also there's DeFi Spot has been working to integrate Terra Station into their UI, so people can start testing out the wallet integrations and making sure those all work properly. So at first it'll just be like, let's just make sure that like the protocol works and that you can like add and remove liquidity from the Terra chain onto the THORChain. But then also from there, do all of the UIs integration and wallet integrations, and does the UX work, and is it suitable like to the Luna ecosystem? How do they find that experience, and does it kind of level with their expectations? And we can kind of start this feedback process, and we can start making adjustments accordingly. So basically the goal is pretty much to just use StageNet to as a basically a user acceptance testing, and if anybody is able to identify any issues, we can get those patched so that launch is effectively just like flipping a switch, and everyone already knows what to expect.
Cool, sounds great. One other topic that maybe we could just do relatively quickly is another pool went live, which is WBTC, and that kind of went under the radar a little bit. It is just actually,
before we jump to that, I think you mentioned one thing that was really interesting, and that was it was basically like the bridge between different ecosystems and the Terra ecosystem using THORChain. That I think highlights a really interesting kind of like ecosystem that we're starting to, or not ecosystem, but just kind of like feature set that we're starting to experiment with. And that's the DEX aggregators. So actually like the DEX aggregators are a way to wrap any like other like, ETH DeFi ecosystem contracts, and then use those to basically provide liquidity via THORChain into any of the L1s that THORChain offers. So I think what sort of like the multiplying effect of this is not just like use Terra Station to like deposit your Terra to earn yield on THORChain. Well, that's amazing. Like there's already other apps for earning liquidity on Terra today. But I think what's even bigger is like people in the ETH ecosystem could potentially use like 1inch or SushiSwap or Uniswap to swap ETH or any ETH ERC20 coin for which there's like a continuous liquidity pool on those DEXs on the ETH ecosystem, we could use a wrapped contract, and then they essentially forward liquidity through THORChain into the Terra ecosystem. So I think that's probably like one of the biggest innovations. Like all of these things are coming together where, say, like I'm like like an ETH maxi, but I can now use a DAI or whatever. I can go through the DAI pool on Uniswap into ETH, and then the DEX aggregator will basically use THORChain to swap that to like UST under the hood. So you could literally do DAI to UST with a single transaction on Uniswap. And I think that's like probably one of like the coolest things that's getting lined up. So just wanted to kind of like you'll hear more about DEX aggregators moving forward, but that's pretty much going to be like a user facing feature that most users have no idea that they're even using. Like in very soon, maybe like almost like maybe, I don't want to give timelines, but like in 2022, you will be able to go on to major ETH DeFi ecosystems and swap directly to BTC or directly to Terra or directly to any chain using THORChain as a backend and not even know that you're using THORChain. Same thing with wallet integrations. Like you'll be able to just go onto your Trust wallet and swap directly from real L1 Terra to real L1 BTC. And you don't, as a user, even need to know that THORChain is being used in the background. And so that's like, that I think is like one of the most important things for this ecosystem going forward.
Yeah, I want to hammer on that. The aggregator pattern is one of the most important interfaces for the ecosystem that is not THORChain native to interact with it. So we were talking with
Gavin, your audio is
Hey, Gavin.
a little bit.
Oh, is that anything better there?
You're good now.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, sorry. That was my finger.
Yeah.
The aggregator pattern, though, as far as an interface to use THORChain as an asset backbone to what Pluto was saying, is it's one of the most important things that has been kind of rolled out at the non-protocol level, I think, since inception. We were talking with I won't name the protocol, but we've been talking with a couple of ETH-centric protocols, because you can start to use something like you could go from native Bitcoin into some staked yield-bearing product in an entirely different ecosystem. And you can probably imagine some of the protocols that would use that. But as Pluto was saying, we can do all this behind the scenes. So users show up and they use, whatever wallet they're using. But behind the scenes, THORChain becomes the rails to make a lot of this stuff that's today it's just impossible possible. And so as we connect Terra in this next piece, there's going to be a lot of good stuff that you can do between going from some of these ecosystems from point A to point B, and you go from a native asset into a yield bearing vault on the other side. And how else do you do that today? You can't. So there's a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe from the aggregator pattern. But if you guys haven't checked it out, that's an open item on GitLab. Highly recommend reading it.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought that one up. I think totally we're going into aggregator season. I feel it. This is one of the things I'm the most excited about, and it's just going to make the DEX a true DEX in the definition of kind of what it was always meant to be, and not only just the assets that are pooled directly on THORChain, but with like the ETH contract routing, and then going through CW20s on Astroport or something like that. And just to kind of clarify one thing is, with this that'll mean just signing a single transaction, correct?
Bingo. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't have these multi-step hops. You sign it to go, and everything is taken care of behind the scenes.
Yeah, so I think that is why this feature is so crucial, is because for these front ends to make it simplified, kind of has to be like that, or else you're going to be, having to understand exactly the path that this crazy route is taking, and having to approve things, and then something goes wrong and it gets stuck halfway there, and then you don't even know what you're dealing with. Whereas with this, it'll just be extremely simple, and it'll become very invisible. All these different platforms will just they'll have to kind of to integrate something like this, or else they'll fall behind. Like if you're a major DEX with a lot of traffic, and then some other aggregator can do a lot more routes than you, well, that's such a disadvantage that it's hard to imagine that this won't just kind of be ubiquitous.
Yeah, and if we knock a couple things down over the next few weeks, we should have some go-to-market partners that are that are, they just kind of showcase the various potentials of this pattern, which would be really nice.
What's correct me if I'm wrong, but what also sounds exciting about this to me is that a lot of times, we think about THORChain enabling like exchange, like as a decentralized exchange protocol, and it enables decentralized exchange. But really, I mean, what you mentioned here, like for example, an ETH DeFi project that's gonna that through a THORChain integration on the back end, enable users to go from like native Bitcoin into an ETH DeFi protocol. It's bringing a swapping function to a place where you normally wouldn't have thought of it as an exchange, kind of like an exchange interface. Like this is kind of like how Uber expanded like the market cap for, or the potential market for ride sharing beyond just taxis. Like THORChain swap functions can be implemented all over the place outside of like a Thor swap or a DeFi spot, but now in the bringing, for example, like a native Bitcoin into an ETH DeFi protocol, you wouldn't have necessarily thought that to be a function of an exchange necessarily.
Yeah, it might just have one button. It might just say deposit Bitcoin and here's an APY.
Yeah, and they can do anything they want, right? Because you can convert that into almost anything on the other end, whatever ecosystem you're going to.
Yeah, super exciting, and it's just part of the power of like just being the liquidity protocol that underpins first swaps and then all sorts of other DeFi features in some timeline.
Hey, real quick, I want to hit on what Chad was saying though, on the WBTC side. So I'd like the big thing about that we wanted to like just make sure, like the only way out in size from WBTC today is through a custodian. And so one of the trades that makes a boatload of sense for folks to start running is now you can go from your wrapped Bitcoin out to native Bitcoin. And this is the first time you can do that at scale. I mean, if you just Google like how to unwrap your Bitcoin, like you get a lot of articles about how to go from one form of WBTC to RenBTC or something else. And you get all these wrapped variants. But in this case, now you actually have the first off ramp to just avoid, some centralized authority. And in my book, that's a huge trade. So anyways, getting that pool live, getting a few million in there to seed liquidity is a really great step. But in terms of propagating this message, this really is the first time. I mean, just Google around, figure it out, and take a look at what your other options are. And there's effectively none. So this is a big one.
Yeah, I think it flew under the radar a bit, but it does have such a strong implication and ties in so nicely with the THORChain ethos of, this is allowing you to kind of get out of that wrapped asset. A thought I just had maybe real quick is, is there any kind of concern of having all of this WBTC like wrapped up? Like any thoughts on the long-term sort of security of that?
No comment from the security side. I mean, the folks that are involved with that, I mean, BitGo and the collective that are involved with that, they're all really solid partners. You know what I mean? So WBTC is what it is. But I guess the important thing is like in the case of like not your keys, not yours. This now gives folks a way to exit the flexible version of DeFi native Bitcoin that allows them to, go earn yield, things like that, aside of, THORChain's native Bitcoin pools. But that off ramp, I think, is an important piece for the ecosystem, and it just hasn't existed until now. And so, so I mean, it kind of flew under the radar, like we said, with all the releases, and it's pretty easy to miss a pool going live. But this is a big step forward for the Bitcoin ecosystem to have that type of an off ramp into native without having to go through a gatekeeper.
Yeah, I mean, you can almost envision this as like different like routes connecting like a city like to new cities. Like it's expanding like the possible paths between all these disparate islands that were before just centralized and trusted bridges or custodians. And whether it's Dogecoin, Luna, now Wrap Bitcoin, it's just like fundamentally changing like the on ramps and off ramps in these different ecosystems. So another topic we have here is on Synths. We have the Thor games is a concept that's been talked about. It's another initiative among many that Nine Realms is driving forward. Can you guys talk a bit about like an overview of like what is Thor games in the context of hammering on Synths and where are we on that testing?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. So the idea with THORgames is to have an event that can focus the community around testing a particular feature that we want to make sure that we can understand all the edge cases for. And kind of echoing what Pluto was saying earlier, there's no substitute for using real assets and making sure that everything functions the way that we would expect. So the idea with the THORgames for synths is that we'll have a week-long program with some different rewards for folks that can, get synths to, perform in a way that we weren't expecting, and then surface all of that through a kind of responsible disclosure pattern. And the idea with all of this is like synths are a really critical kind of building block for THORify that will be developed throughout the year. And so synths have been in the code base for a long time, I think over a year or 10 months or something like that. And so, at this point, we want to kind of push that in parallel with all of these other things that we're working on, so that we can make sure that synths are battle tested and rock solid, so that then the THORify design can be built on something that's super stable. And so that's kind of the premise there. And then what will happen here is we're working with Broker to kind of facilitate the THORgames, and then we'll have another kind of announcement and launch with all of this, so that folks can participate and learn how to submit things and do trades and stuff like that. And then we'll start to kind of surface things that we discover, and then there will likely be a slew of fixes and patches, and then we'll probably do a second round of THORgames on synths, just using kind of the time that we have right now to get more and more people involved in helping us make this super rock solid. The other thing that is a really cool development is by leveraging StageNet, we're able to do all of this with real assets. But because we have some control over StageNet, we can keep pools very shallow, and then that allows us to kind of put the network into weird states that we just wouldn't be able to do with much deeper pools, so that we can test all of these little edge cases. And the way that I've been thinking about this is that we have kind of this set of parameters in the network, and we can kind of visualize that as a big surface, and we want to see where are the edges of that are like risky states that we can get the network in, and make sure that we have guards in place in order to protect that against those. So that's kind of the high level overview. More information will come over the next week or two, but yeah, that's what we're working for, and we'll have a event to kind of announce that, talk through all of it, an AMA with Broker, and then the flag will be lifted, and folks can run in there and try to shake things up.
Awesome. And one subject you had on the list here, Orion, node Mimir voting and economic policy. I believe we got into this a bit last week, but was there anything new to add here, or something we should cover?
Yeah, I think, just one thing I wanted to point out is that now validator nodes have the capacity to vote on Mimir settings that affect the economics of the network and just network behavior. This is a really powerful part of our kind of mission towards decentralization, and it's been interesting to see the various discussions around, like what should the network be prioritizing? And then, there's been a lot of discussions around these things, but then it's also interesting to see like, well, what is the sentiment of the validator node operators, and, where are they casting votes kind of explicitly by setting a Mimir value, or where are they kind of, showing their choice just by not voting at all. So it's just been an interesting thing in the community to observe. And I'd encourage more and more folks to get involved with the discussion. There's certainly a lot of trade-offs around kind of short-term behavior versus long-term behavior, and what does that mean for both pool APYs and kind of node operator APYs. So there's a lot to balance there. And I think, as a community, the discussion's been really healthy.
Awesome. So let's do this. We're coming close on time here. We can take requests from anybody that wants to come up on stage. If you have a question or want to say anything, feel free to hit the request button. And while we wait for those to trickle in, Nine Realms crew, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on that we didn't cover yet?
Yeah, I have one more thing. So over the past couple of weeks, I've been working with, a variety of ecosystem projects to just to check in with everybody and make sure that everybody has the resources that they need going into Q1. If you're an ecosystem project and haven't had an opportunity to reach out, feel free to shoot me a DM. And the main kind of focus right now has been, if you're seeking treasury support, what we're really looking for is, how are you kind of hitting along three dimensions. One is node bond and kind of the security budget or kind of security deposit of the network. The other is like, how are you driving pool depth? And the other is, how is your project driving swap volume? And that's kind of how we're starting to evaluate, the different ecosystem projects that are looking for treasury funding. But happy to discuss that more, with people via DMs or other.
Awesome. Yeah, we had our call earlier this week on behalf of Runebase, and looking forward to supporting THORChain across those three initiatives as we go on. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just another line on that. What I said just sounds a little sterile, but it's been really amazing. This community is really baller, and it's really cool to see all of the things and ideas that everybody has. And that's been really, I've just, over the past week, I've just had a really big grin on my face talking with so many talented and driven folks that, all kind of see the vision and are pushing THORChain forward.
Yeah, that is a really cool vantage point. And I can relate. I know how awesome it is to have conversations with ecosystem builders and developers and contributors. And that was like the basis for the podcast is like the delight that you have in these conversations. So that's really cool. Awesome. So we have a couple Ryans on stage now. Let's go with Ryan Malia. Ryan, can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry. Just quick question on Terra and Luna coming. So just want to make sure I understand this correct. Obviously, I know that enables Luna to be shared on there and UST to be shared. But does it also open up the ability for people potentially to like start doing like the Terra alts or any of the other tokens in there, or just kind of maybe clarify how that might work or if that is accurate?
Yeah, I'll throw something out. So the initial pools might be something like UST.
Yeah.
Your mic.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I was going to say the initial pools might be something like UST and Luna. However, based on kind of the aggregator pattern, like we were sharing, we can add additional pools, but what we can also do is start to use that pattern of aggregation to route through long tails using THORChain. So we can still take advantage of of the volume coming through those long tail assets.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And just to add to that, we're only going to be starting out with Luna and UST for now. I've read somewhere Chad Barraford stated that UST will be the only supported CW20 token. So unless something changes with that, we don't want to add smart contract risk if we don't have to. And I'm sure that other Terra-based dexes will still be the best places to get liquidity for all of the Terra alts. So we can set up some sort of dex aggregator through those ecosystems as well. I'm still of the opinion, I don't know, there's different like schools of thought on this within the ecosystem, but like I still think that THORChain's most valuable add to just blockchain and cryptocurrency as a whole is its ability to do cross-chain swaps for L1s. Because then once you're in the native L1 currency, you can take advantage of that entire ecosystem to those ecosystems have their own native dexes that are already full of liquidity. So it doesn't really make sense to compete with those ecosystems on liquidity. We'd rather see those liquidity deeper where it makes the most sense. But also it kind of takes away from the amount of available economic security for THORChain as a whole for other L1s, right? So we can only add as much assets into THORChain as is covered by bond, as many people know. And so it's really a trade-off, right? If we wanted to bring, and so there are certain exceptions, right? Like WBTC kind of makes sense. USDT, USDC, like I think stables kind of have their place as well. The counterpoint to this is, of course, like THORFi would allow you to trade, synthetics of any ERC20, basically with instant finality, right? So you could go onto like THORSwap, for example, and be trading, Yearn or like Aave, Kylan, whatever, with instant finality and like very low fees if there's a pool for that on THORChain. So, I kind of go both ways. Like THORFi is really awesome and being able to like get rid of the fees on especially ERC20 tokens is one thing. But, at the end of the day, like I would rather just see really, really deep UST, Luna, Bitcoin, ETH, BNB, the L1 pools, because there's those ecosystems are always going to have better liquidity than I think THORChain could ever really offer. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky thing, right? Because like Uniswap, for example, doesn't have to like secure assets because assets are secured by the EVM, which is secured by the Ethereum network and its miners, right? So like they don't have any of the same problem of bond. And so at least like unless Rune flips Bitcoin, which would be great for everyone. But there's always going to be more liquidity than bond. And so as long as that holds true, like we need to be sort of selective about how we apportion security on THORChain to those different L1s. And I don't know that it even makes sense to have a 2 million or like, I'm looking at 20s on here right now. Like the Kylan pool has like 250K of liquidity and zero volume. Why would anyone ever come to THORChain to swap Kylan, pay 3x fees on Ethereum when they could get a better price and pay less fees on SushiSwap? So there's always we're gonna have to figure out like long term how to incentivize pools that are that have the most utility and are going to drive the most volume.
Yeah, I mean, I think the liquidity portion of it wouldn't make sense. It was more kind of asking, like, kind of the if I'm understanding the technicals of if the Terra ecosystem is enabled, then technically those things could move over there, but it wouldn't really make sense to build the liquidity there, right?
Yeah, just to kind of echo Pluto for a second. I feel like I'm personally understanding it a bit better recently and leaning more towards what Pluto just described, because it seems like it kind of, saps some potential from what THORChain is able to secure. And it doesn't really add that much because you're still going to be able to route the way you're describing just through these various aggregators. So, if you wanted a Astro pool, like, yeah, it theoretically could be on THORChain directly, or it could just in one single swap still have access to it by routing through Luna or UST.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you for the question. We had another Ryan on stage, but it looks like he dropped out. But in lieu of him, oh wait, no.
I think this is the right Ryan. Ryan
Sorry.
Sovereign.
Yeah, good catch. Yeah.
Hey guys. Yep, I'm here. I just wanted to say I'm from the Dash community. I don't know if you talked at all about it. I came in a little bit late, but we're very excited about the integration with THORChain coming up. So thank you guys for bringing that on. And in case you didn't see already in your Discord, there are a lot of people that are really excited about this, really excited about just being able to do the cross-chain L1 DEX swapping, and giving people that might be more inclined to hold something like Ethereum or Bitcoin, giving them a really easy access point to be able to spend their crypto by exchanging through THORChain into Dash, and then have access to kind of our target market, which is the spending of crypto. So just wanted to say thanks. And if somebody wanted to mention anything about timeline, I'm sure nobody would complain about getting an update on what the expected timeline would be.
Not sure if anyone from Nine Realms has any comment there. I don't know, but it's great to hear that people are excited about Dash. I'm personally not too familiar with it, but I'm definitely seeing so much excitement from the Dash community. So it's great to see that people are excited to be integrated with THORChain.
Yeah, the inbound, actually, that's one of the strongest community-led efforts that we've seen on any of this stuff. So pretty stoked to get it synced up. Anyways, on that side, we definitely have to follow up and get a little bit, and that's probably another piece of coordination on the Nine Realms side that we need to start spearheading. So anyways, don't have a timeline, but I think it'll be probably one of the first community-led connections. So probably in the near term. But either way, we'll need to follow up on that.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin, and thank you, Ryan.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Awesome, sir. Next, we have Nervin.
Hi there. So I have two questions. First one was with the Terra / USD integration. Are there any plans to integrate the THORChain backend with Terra Station? Because it has an amazing UI and a lot of people are already familiar with it. So I feel like it could get us a lot of volume if we could just directly integrate BTC to other, THORChain backend. So I was wondering whether any plans there.
I'll throw it out there from our standpoint as integrations like that are front and center of our focus. Nothing's lined up exactly quite yet, but that's part of what's on our focus.
Perfect. And the other point I wanted to make was I also saw this on our THORChain Discord group, but I was also having a problem with a couple of days ago swapping Bitcoin to Rune or to other coins using my Ledger device with THORswap. So I was wondering, whether these kinds of UX issues will be addressed before we go to mainnet, because it was impossible for me to use my Ledger device to swap Bitcoin to Rune, which was a frustrating experience.
From what I've seen of it, and I'm not on the dev team or anything, but it sounds like that is getting quite high in priority. I believe it's on XDeFi's roadmap for February or March for Bitcoin Ledger integration. So it sounds like that should work itself out rather quickly. And I agree. I'm excited for that on a personal level. And I think that a lot of people, especially Bitcoin, right? I mean, it kind of just suits the Bitcoin ethos. Like you want to be able to use a ledger. So but yeah, I would say to probably watch XDeFi on that in particular.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Last but not least, we have Syed. In theory, we have Syed. And maybe we don't have Syed.
Syed, you might have to just hit the unmute.
The unmute button. But
bottom left. And last call for maybe one more question if anyone's eager to press the request button.
Cool. We have a crypto surfer here. Crypto surfer, if you're with us, you can hit the mute
Sorry
button.
about that, guys. Super quick question. Do you guys have any comments on Thor wallet?
Comments on what in particular?
How closely are you guys working with them at all in their development? Or, I've been impressed with some of their integration. I was just curious if you guys had any thoughts on them.
I mean, from a personal and team standpoint, they're awesome humans. So like in terms of ecosystem, they've been great to work with.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I host a podcast called the Rune-Based Podcast, and I interviewed Marcel, the founder and CEO of THOReau, earlier this week, like 2 or 3 days ago. Awesome conversation, great guy, and a great ecosystem partner. And they that podcast will be going live early next week on Tuesday or Wednesday. And so, it's like an hour conversation just about the work that they're doing and his story. And so, yeah, you can dive deeper on THOReau on that podcast. And yeah, we love him as an ecosystem partner.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Our pleasure. All right, I got a couple more here. Douglas, you on? Douglas, when you hear us. Hey, can you hear us, Douglas?
Oh, hey guys. Yeah, I think I have a little bit of delay here. Just wanted to say, similar to the Dash guy, just super excited that you guys will be integrating with Monero. Monero community is very excited. I just wanted to throw out an offer. We're having a Monero conference April 7th in Miami. And I was trying to get in touch with somebody from the Thor team that might be interested in coming to speak, particularly looking for somebody that can come and kind of talk about more of the technicals, what's involved with integrating with Monero. I know you guys are working with Cake Wallet and Haven. I see Haven is here as well. Haven will be at the conference. Somebody will be representing Haven as well. But it would just be amazing to have you guys and have you in the room with a bunch of other, Monero folk and see where it leads and to, kind of hear more about the technicals.
Awesome. That sounds fun. Miami with a bunch of Monero folk. It would be a good time.
Yeah, and there's been some amazing work done with the crypto note side of this, kind of in the back channels. But yeah, we'll surface this with core guys too, and see who can make it down there. Thanks for the invite too.
Yeah, greatly appreciated. Just I don't know. Let me know who I should follow up with, or
feel free to DM literally anybody who's on this call, whether it's Pluto, Ryan, Chad, myself, or Saigon, honestly, and we'll start looping it in and see who we can round up.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Arno, how's it going? We see what you've been doing to rile up the Doge community. We love it. You have a question?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I appreciate you guys putting Doge on there, and we keep trying to, educate people because THORChain literally brings so much awesomeness to Dogecoin. I'm extremely excited. My question is a little unrelated to Doge, and it's more so THORChain. I've been having really difficult, impossible time swapping Bitcoin for Rune for the past 24 hours. I think there was a report about a V70, I think, some sort of a issue with reporting. And my question is more so is there a timeline on that getting resolved?
Sorry. What you're not able to swap Bitcoin for Rune? What wallet are you using?
I'm using Thor wallet. I get the message failed to broadcast or something like that. I don't get the broadcasting happening. And I have a friend who has the same issue. And I was wondering if that's related to the comment from earlier. Somebody said that they were able to swap Bitcoin for Rune. So I was just kind of checking maybe that's the same thing. And if so, if there's some sort of a timeline.
No, so THORswap also had that issue. I think that, it's interesting. All the UIs kind of connect to the various chains in their own way. So unless the UIs are running their own Bitcoin full node, they're probably broadcasting to THORchain or some other public RPC endpoint. And I know that THORswap had an issue with a core's cross origin requests being blocked from basically their domain, and so they had to get on with their support. But I'm guessing that Thor wallet is running into the same issue, so I would raise that with them. I'm not really sure what their support channel is, but that's going to be a Thor wallet issue, not a THORChain issue.
Understood. Thank you. I will direct that question to them. And then I guess I know we're trying to wrap up, and I hope this is a quick question. I noticed that when Dogecoin was added, there were some outages, like THOReau wasn't ready, and there were some issues. My question is do you guys work in advance with other developers who support that ecosystem? And is there like a way to make those changes smooth and to where there's no outages, and more so I guess to work like clockwork at some point? Again, that may be a THOReau issue, but just checking.
Yeah. So what Pluto had mentioned kind of at the beginning of the call around, there's the protocol side, which is making sure everything is just buttoned up at the protocol level, to make sure, base level swaps working, and all that stuff is just happening at THORChain and Bifrost and THORnode, like the basic level there. When you move up the stack, you start getting into things like Midgard, and then higher up, you've got the wallet integrations products. And so one of the things that on whether it's the core or the 9Realms side, we're really focused on each one of these rollouts is making sure that we have one or two partners in the ecosystem from a UX perspective and a UI perspective who are integrated and ready to roll with this. So we're getting those kinks worked out in the system, but with Doge, you saw it, there was a really good ecosystem lineup in terms of some of the wallets that were ready to go. But that's just something that'll continue to smooth out as we add new chains, is just making sure that it's a really smooth process from protocol up, but we want zero blockers on top of the protocol. But once that's kind of as that clears up, we'll make sure that there's folks north in the stack who can facilitate a really good experience for swapping for individuals.
Thank you so much. You guys rock. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thank you, Arno.
That brings up a really good point about just usability, and because people use THORChain and they think that that you're just using THORChain, but in reality you're using every other chain as well. So if you try to swap Bitcoin for Rune, you're not actually interacting with THORChain directly. You actually have to submit a Bitcoin transaction that tells THORChain which Rune address to send your Rune to, or whatever other asset you're trying to swap to. So that just kind of gave me an idea that we need to either THORnode or 9Realms, itself needs to offer some sort of proxy service to all the different chain clients, which could then be used by those respective UIs to kind of bypass some of the more centralized services. So we will get on that. We'll offer that to the ecosystem so that they can, basically have somewhere to route through, because, it's tough to rely on some of those more centralized services. So we'll get across that. Thanks for raising that.
Thank you as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Arno. We have our last two questions here, and then we can wrap for the afternoon. But Marty Showstall.
So I have a question about Haven, and then a Haven Terra question, I guess. So could you explain a little bit about the Haven integration? Is it going to include, all the Haven tokens? And then assuming it does, am I going to be able to bring, my UST out of Terra and find a pool for UST XUSD? And thank you for taking my question.
So anybody can feel free to pile onto this one, but so I can the base asset integration I can speak to in terms of progress there, but in terms of which pools we'll have, in terms of the Haven assets, I don't exactly know what the plan of action is yet. We've kind of got the immediate future for us right now is laser focused on getting Terra and that ecosystem connected up. We've got a few community ones, but I know Haven's on the roadmap just beyond that. And so in terms of the specific liquidity pools and assets that'll be supported immediately, don't exactly know, but we can follow up on that here in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. And Marty, did you say you had another question related to Haven and THORChain?
No, it was UST, but
sorry,
he answered it, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Marty. All right, and last but not least, Crypto Surfer.
Oh, you already answered my question. Thank you.
All right.
There is one text question on the tweet itself. If we want to hit that.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah. I had it. One question for Spaces. Why? This is more of a technical question. Why doesn't THORChain use transfers on ETH, but instead uses smart contract calls? All other chains use transfers to an Asgard vault. Why is it done different on ETH? It increases gas by almost 2x. With transfers, it should be as cheap as Uniswap. Any thoughts?
This is one of those questions where it'd be great to have Chad and some of the other guys who are working deeper on the core on this one.
Agreed.
But don't want to throw anything out from left field without it being accurate.
Sounds good. We can always shelve that one maybe for next week.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, yeah, if there's nothing else, yeah, guys, well, I guess, Nine Realms crew, is there anything else you guys want to closing words for the week?
Best is yet to come.
Day zero. Love it. Best is yet to come. All right, guys. Well, there's nothing else. That wraps up this week's THORChain Weekly live stream. You'll be able to find the recording at the Runebase podcast, runebase.org. As always, Chad, folks from Nine Realms, thank you guys for attending, for taking the time out of your day to spend this with us.
Yeah, exciting times for THORChain. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Saigon.
Thank you guys, and THORChain out. Peace.